Okay. Picking up from the last video, we got to use the law of sines here on number 4 to find angle B. When you're using law of sines, keep in mind you've got the ambiguous case as a possibility. When you notice that it is one acute angle, you've got to pay attention. So when you set this up, you got sine of 37 over 49, so angle A over little a, and then you got angle B over little b. Oops, that's a 54, so let's stick 54 in there. Cross multiply 49 sine B, 54 sine 37. All right, we're trying to find B, so get rid of the 49. So those cancel. Okay, you're going to come in here and type 54 sine 37, hit enter, divide by 49, and that answer will be, I don't need a fraction bar, I need 0.6632. When you hit inverse sine and your answer, you get 41.5. But you can't just put this up here and go to the next problem. It's supposed to dawn on you, and if I were you, I would circle this and make a big deal about the fact that that's an acute angle so that you remember when you get an acute angle, you have to tell me what the ambiguous case is. So you have to come down here and figure out 180 minus 41.5. That's the 138.5. So that should be prime. I've got to see where you figured that out. So if you want to put it up here at the blanks, that is more than fine. But both of these need to be in the answer. If you don't put the second one, you do lose points. Okay, law of cosines. The good thing about law of cosines is there's no ambiguous case. You just have to remember your rules. Now, whichever letter I ask for, that's the letter you start with. A squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine A. All right? So come in here and start filling in your information. And it's just a matter of taking the time to get it in here. All right. When you're looking for an angle, these have to be subtracted. So you're needing to type 11 squared minus 14 squared minus 17 squared. Okay, that's going to give you negative 364. When you multiply this part together, you get negative 476 cosine A. Well, that's multiplied, so your job is to come in and divide. That will give 0.7647 cosine A. Now you got to hit second cosine, second negative, and you're going to find that it is 40 degrees. And that is the answer. You don't have to worry about anything else. All right, I said find B, so we're going to start with B. B squared, A squared, C squared, 2AC, cosine B. All right, now plug in your stuff. Since we're looking for a side, this one's going to work out pretty quick. It's just a matter of getting it all written down. Cosine of what, 31. You get to type all of that in your calculator, just straight. Go for it. Type it in. Just remember that that's not your answer. That's b squared. Take the square root of it, and that's your answer. Now, the instructions do say to round it to the nearest whole number. If you put 9, that is great because that is exactly what I said do in the instructions. I think sometimes it's better. I should have put take it to the 10th. But so on the review sheet here, I'm probably going to use all tenths. Okay, oops, went too far. There we go. All right, next two. I need A, so I'm going to start with A. A squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine of A. All right, plug in the stuff that I know. A squared equals 23 squared plus 47 squared. All right, and you're just plugging everything in. Again, there are no variables over here. You plugged in every value you had. Your only variable is over there on the left. So you type everything in over here. You get a value of 904.52. remember, that's squared. Take the square root, and it's 30 point something, but you can round it to 30, that's fine. All right, come to the next one, we're finding b. So b squared equals a squared plus c squared minus 2ac cosine of big B. Plug in what you know. 42 squared, 21 squared, 31 squared. So it'd be a 21 and a 31 because they're right here. And then I don't know cosine of b. Well, since this is my variable, these two have to move over. So you're going to type 42 squared minus 21 squared minus 31 squared. Now, this one's slightly different than what we've been doing because this number actually comes out positive. So that's slightly weird. Then when you come over here, multiply that together, it will be negative. So keep up with your signs, like your positives and negatives. Okay, you're going to divide by negative 1302. Now when you do that, you get a negative 0.2780. Now when you do cosine, inverse cosine of that, it kind of may feel a little weird, but it all works out. 106 degrees, which it just means that b is obtuse. Should make sense, because think about it. Cosine in the second quadrant, cosine's negative. So that would make sense that right here, the value of cosine of your angle is a negative decimal. So it should all work together. All right, then you have two problems where it says solve the triangle. Hopefully you're remembering that solve the triangle means find all three angles and all three sides. So, on the first one, you kind of had to determine, do you use law of sines, do you use law of cosines? So that's part of the struggle here. I was trying to be nice to you the way I typed it, and I set it up to where the A's are together, the B's are together, the C's are together, okay? You see that? If you don't have a complete stack here, if you don't have a whole ratio, you cannot use the law of sines. You have to start with the law of cosines here. So it would probably be best to look for this one. Since you only have one angle, you can do a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine of a. Now when you start plugging in your values, should work out just fine. And then you got cosine of, what is this, 98? Alright, once again, you're going to type everything in. When you do that, it's 1011.64. When you take your square root, it's 31.8. So we know little a. Now I have a complete ratio. That allows me to transition into the law of sines if I want to. You don't have to. You can do law of cosines the whole time if you want to. Now, if you change to the law of sines, I advise you to do the smaller angle first of B and C. How do you know which one's smaller? Which side is the smallest? 19. So the angle opposite it would be the smallest. So find B first. So you have sine of A over little a equals sine of b over little b. Then you can cross multiply. 19 sine of 98 equals 31.8 sine of b. Alright, remember any number in front, you got to just divide through by that number. And those will cancel. You're going to type in the top, get an answer, divide through by the bottom. You should get a decimal that is less than 1, and we do. It is 0.5917. When you do inverse sine, we get the answer to be 36. Alright, so I already have 98 degrees here and 36 degrees. You can just say 180 minus 98 minus 36, and that's going to give you 46. So you don't have to do another rule to find the other angle. Just use the fact that these three little angles got to add up to 180. Alright, scoot over to the next one. I'm giving you three sides. If you have three sides, you only have one option, law of cosines. So which one are you going for? If you use the same rule that we did before, go with the smaller one. So a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine of a. Okay? 12 squared, 17 squared, 21 squared. I'm just going to have to wrap around. Cosine of a. So you're going to type 12 squared and subtract out 17 squared and 21 squared. That is going to leave you with a negative 586. When you multiply this portion, you're going to get negative 714 cosine a. Divide it out. Your negatives cancel, and you got 0.8207 cosine a. Do inverse cosine of your little decimal here. And it came out to be 34.8, but you're more than welcome to round that little booger to 35 degrees. So this is 35 degrees. Okay. Now, you actually have a complete ratio. I don't blame you at all if you want to go law of sines with that. So you could do sine 35 over 12 equals, now again, I'm going to go with the smaller side. So sine of b over 17. All right, let me scroll up so I got a little bit of room to work with. Now, if you wanted to and you didn't want any discrepancies, you could stay with the law of cosines. The first time I worked through this, I used law of cosines. So let me grab a calculator so I can work through this right now. You got 17 sine 35 equals 12 sine b. All right, the 12's out front, so you just divide by plain old 12. They cancel, and I've got sine of b, and I need 17 sine 35 inner divided by 12. That gives me 0.8126. Now do second sine, second negative. So b was, I got 54.3, so I can just round into a good old 54, and that'll be fine. So let me scroll back up here, so I have my blank. So b 54. Now you use that same idea. Your three angles have to add up to 180. So take 180, do minus 35, minus 54. Your third angle has to be 91. Okay? All right, that pretty much wraps up the law of sines and cosines. We're going to do one more video, and that video will cover the area formulas, okay? So I'll see you back here in just a minute for that one.